when I reflect back, then I realize that because I have went beyond my comfort zone, I am able to discover a new Susila which did not exist before. So what I have analyzed in this whole mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship is there is a constant competition. So if one can handle that competition part well, your game is done. Actual intelligence is not to use intelligence in all places. See, 80% of your projects will go as per schedule. There is no issue. So you are not paid for that 80%. This is something that I used to tell myself. 20% of the projects don't go well. There will be a lot of issues. You are actually paid for that. Like I used to tell myself, I am paid to be the project manager for these 20%. See, I am not a superwoman. All mothers, the moment the child comes onto the planet, will go through fear. How will my son turn out? Guilt also is that, am I doing enough? So guilt and fear are there for anybody, working mothers, non-working mothers and all. Working mothers, we hype it up a little bit because we are not physically with them. Every day you should give at least 10 to 15 minutes of me time where nobody is there, no mobile, nothing, just 10 minutes.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Brightlife podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something that has been talked about a lot. We say that, hustle culture, don't try to do it all, don't try to rush everything, you can't have it all, everything, right? It just keeps on painting a very, a tired, overwhelming picture. But how about having it all and having a great sense of peace and calm? Well, if that's what you want, then today's episode is just for you. Our guest today is Susila Kishore. So Susila is a mentor to students, professionals, and even consults with businesses to increase their productivity and personal effectiveness. And the wisdom she's imparting in today's episode incidentally has a very personal touch to it. It has her own personal experiences and personal triumphs to share, and I can't wait for you guys to check out the episode today. And before you get into the episode, I would like to share that we do one such conversation every other week with coaches, therapists to help you live an empowered life. So do check out our podcast and like, share and subscribe to our channel. Now, I know one thing, and I think this is something that I've known about you ever since I got to know you, that you did your MBA after both, your kids, Ram and Vaishnavi, were born, right? Yes. And how old were they when you decided to do your MBA?
My daughter was 3.5 years old and my son was 10 to 11 years old.
And this was a regular?
Full-time MBA, PGP from Indian School of Business and IE Business School, Madrid.
Okay, but so this was not executive program, this was regular?
Yes, regular program.
How did that idea come to you, if I can ask?
Definitely. So me and my husband and my children were going to Bannerghatta Park in Bangalore. You are familiar with Bangalore?
Yes.
So on the way you get IIM Bangalore campus to the left hand side. So we both were discussing and we said our children should study here. Then I said, why should we impose our dreams on them? Let us only study. Okay, so that is when that seed got into our mind. So first he wrote GMAT and he did his MBA from IIM Bangalore.
Okay.
And when he was studying in IIM Bangalore, I used to visit the campus frequently. I got inspired. So I got admission in IIM Bangalore as well as Indian School of Business.
And how old were you then, if I may ask?
38 years old. And my average class was 26 years maximum. Yeah.
Okay. And was it a very obvious choice? Because the way you are saying it, it seems very, I went to IIM Bangalore, I got inspired by the campus, I wrote the exam, I got in. But, I don't think this is a
easy journey.
Yeah, not even easy. I don't think it's a very, like the way, the normalcy that you are saying it with, right? I don't think it occurs as a normal. Okay, I'm 31 right now. I have no kids, and even right now I just think, okay, like if I wanted to do MBA, I should have done it, when I was 24 or 25. So okay, so I'm saying that choosing to do MBA, you're making it sound very natural and obvious, but I have to say that it didn't occur to me like that. But were there any challenges that you were dealing with at that time, that you dealt with, you resolved for yourself before?
See, me and my husband have this strong conviction that we only have one life. Okay, and I was 38, he was I think 45. Okay, so another, if you take it, I have lifespan of 80. So we have 35 years or 40 years, right? So yeah, 40 years, how your journey should be. That is what is our strong conviction, that the journey should be fruitful and meaningful. Okay, so that is what makes us take the next bold step. Okay.
Was it ever, only a decision as an individual, or was it always also a decision as a mother, that what kind of role model do you want to be for your mother, for your kids, or what kind of example do you want to set up for your kids?
See, my children, I don't know why, they always admire me. Okay,
I'm not surprised.
They always admire me. My son always says that I wish I am as energetic as you. And my daughter also says that I'm very proud of me. She's very proud of me, that I do multiple things.
Right. So in your journey of let's say charting out the next 35-40 years of your life, how what role does your relationship with your husband play in that?
Okay, that's very good question. So I got married when I was 21.
21. Okay.
And I come from Visakhapatnam. Okay, Visakhapatnam with minimal exposure to the outside world. In fact, I would say my husband is the one who pulled me out of a well.
Pulled out of a well?
Well, because Visakhapatnam is like a well and you're a frog in that well and you feel great that you're doing very well. So my husband actually played a very, very significant role in all aspects of my career, personal development, today who I am. He played a very, I can call him my anchor. Yeah. So that's how it is. So that is the bond that I share with him. Yeah.
And when you said that he pushed you out of your comfort zone, if you were to share for anyone listening, how important looking back is it for someone to actually break out of that comfort zone? Looking back, how important was it for your personal growth, breaking from the comfort zone?
When I reflect back, then I realize that because I have went beyond my comfort zone, I am able to discover a new Susila which did not exist before. Like a new Susila is there now, is like emerged. Okay, and that is why I would strongly recommend everyone that if they are in their comfort zone, no harm taking the next leap.
So basically, okay, one more thing I want to ask you, are you actively doing that? Are you pushing your kids also actively out of the comfort zone as a mother? I want to constantly ask you, how you deliberately grow yourself as well as your kids, because I'm very curious to understand how that is happening as well.
So I do not deliberately push them, but I feel that in that environment they themselves push themselves. Same with my daughter also. I see that she has taken up a game to do MBBS. Okay, now that's very challenging and difficult.
Yes.
And it is not, we tell her take something light, but no, she has set that aspiration. Sometimes I feel that environment, if they are going beyond their comfort zones, the children automatically will go beyond their comfort zones.
And if I have to ask you to give a takeaway or any insight to any parents listening, because I think especially with, let's say, so much internet exposure and everything, right? Like, I think the newer generation is very different from my generation, is very different from your generation as well, right?
Correct.
And I see a lot of times parents just worrying about that, our kids are getting complacent. That's helpful to think about it.
Yes.
And one more thing that when just branching from the conversation about how breaking out of the comfort zone actually gives us a new version of ourselves. I personally believe that some amount of good stress is always healthy, right? And even in your entire MBA experience, for example, I'm sure it was
extremely stressful.
I didn't even have to
say
it, right?
Yes.
But how is that stress, looking back again, how is that helpful in your personal growth and development as such?
See, one thing is that stress is definitely helpful, but one should realize their capabilities and draw their boundaries. For example, when I was at ISB, I used to sit with the 27, 24-year-old children, students. Yeah, students. And what used to happen was the way they would solve the math or the quant or some puzzles, I cannot solve. That speed at which they would solve, I was not able to solve. So that will cause stress. Now, how do you deal with that stress? One thing is that to be complacent, saying that, okay, I can't do it anymore. Or, request, take help, ask them to, guide, how do you do it so fast? And to some extent you can go, to some extent you cannot go, okay? So stress is healthy, but one should know their limitations and one should be responsible because it may damage also. I went through a breakdown in my health in 2017, wherein I had to step back in my life. Not that I have quit my job or anything like that. Again, my family supported me completely that I was pretty successful in my job. I got a 25% hike and a great change. However, my health, there was a breakdown. So I had to step out of all my other accountabilities for a brief period of time.
How long was that period of time?
6 to 9 months. So at that time, maybe I hit the peak of my stress or the accountabilities. Then I had to step back. How I take it is, I don't take it in a derogatory way because I have now overcome it and I am back to my full potential or maybe more also. Is that I always give this analogy to my mentees that in cricket the bowler goes back and then comes forward and does the bowling. That's how he gets the pace. Right? So likewise in my life I went back and I went back really back. And then I came forward and now I've gained my pace. So that's how I always tell my mentees also when they're falling and failing that this is part of the journey. So I'm not saying that I had a very successful life. No, it is not true. I have had my own hiccups, but how I dealt with it is what matters.
Absolutely, right. And I met you after a very long time, and I think I was seeing, like back in full form, Susila, when I met you again. And but you're right, absolutely. Recharging, rejuvenating, and just giving yourself. Also, I think just what I hear is a lot of compassion for yourself and a lot of compassion from your environment as well, right?
Yes. So I read this book called Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. Those days I read it maybe 7-8 times. Same book. So I don't read multiple books. I read only one book multiple times. So that book really helped me to be on the ground and deal with my health issue along with, of course, doctors' help.
One other thing that you mentioned that all your time, whether it is mission control or it is, I know that you also did some amount of inner child work. How has all this self work been pivotal in your personal as well as professional life?
Okay, so these programs, as I told you, when I got married, I was a very suppressed, not knowing anything in the world kind of a person. And I did my first program when I was 29. It really broke open many things for me. That somebody who cannot stand on the stage and deliver a presentation is now leading such a podcast, and I led multiple workshops in multiple places. I traveled 10 plus countries and all alone, and somebody who couldn't travel from Visakhapatnam to Delhi to make a paper presentation, then traveled 10 plus countries, was in the US for a year. So that is in the career front.
Also solo travels once a quarter.
Yes, solo travels once a quarter. Writing. Right, and also asking people for help, which many people hesitate. I have no shame in asking people for help if I need something. Okay, and that's on the professional front. On the personal front, relationships. So I don't hold on to. Suppose I fight with you. Okay, I don't hold on to Kritika. I fought with her, so I will not talk to her. So that fight is over. Then I discuss with you. It's over. Then that's over for me. So in my life again, this won't come to the back again. That day in 2012 I fought with her, so now I shouldn't speak to her. So no such thing. So that gives me harmony in my relationships and a kind of oneness in my relationships.
You said something very interesting that when you were at ISB, your mother and mother-in-law actually took care of the kids, and you kind of arranged for who will be coming in when. Now this is a very Indian perspective question. How did how did you have that relationship with your mother-in-law where arranging for so many things was possible? I think a lot of times we are just hesitant, and there are all the time like daughter-in-law, mother-in-law jokes, how it's not the most perfectly workable relationship, but you turned it around like that. So what is the secret, Susila?
So what I have analyzed in this whole mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship is there is a constant competition. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're competing for their son's approval or love or something. Okay. So if one can handle that competition part well, your game is done, right? I will share one small example. My mother-in-law made brinjal curry one day, and everybody ate it. The next day, actually I made brinjal curry one day, everybody ate it, they said it's very tasty, it's very good, and we never had this kind of a brinjal curry. This was just when I got married. Next day, she made brinjal curry, next day itself. And then she served for everybody, and she asked, whose is good? Mine or Susila's? Her name is also by the name of Susila.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I said, whose is good? Then she looked at me also. Then I said, obviously yours. I am just an intern. I can never overtake you. Yours is obviously very good. I just made something, and because I am new to the family, everybody said. That settled the equation between us, that there is no competition. And my husband also played a very important role, that he would always validate my mother-in-law's point of view when there is a discussion. He would always say, let us listen to what Amma is saying. It's very simple. And I also over a period of time realized not in every places I need to use my head and brain. So in certain places I don't use. So whatever she says, I used to do it. Whether I like it or not, don't use your head or don't use your emotions. Just do it, because we come from a very ritualistic family. Lot of pujas have to be performed, lot of things have to be performed. I would ask her what has to be done, and I would tell her it's convenient for me, so I will do it. If it's not convenient, I will tell her it's not convenient for me, what is the alternative? But because when it is convenient, I did it as per her process with no violations. When it is not convenient for me, she would say it's okay. So that is how in the first 1 year itself I can say that she owned me up as her daughter. She didn't have daughters, so she owned me up as her daughter.
So not using
my head everywhere.
That's a good takeaway also for me also to take, and I think a lot of young girls watching this episode to
intelligent girls I have observed not to comment anything negative about them. They try to use their intelligence everywhere, right? The intelligence is not to use intelligence in some places.
That's
actual intelligence is not to use intelligence in all places.
I was just thinking that that's a very extreme form of emotional intelligence as well. Was there any way in which you can actually even share that when you were all this while you were also parallel leading I'm sure multiple people in Nokia, and there were people reporting to you. What was emotional intelligence at work like sometimes? Like, because I hear a lot of people, and even I personally sometimes I struggle with productivity. Not all the time people are productive. Not all the time they are probably aligned also or motivated to accomplish on a particular project. And I'm sure there is something to learn from you there as well. So how did you? Is there any particular thing that you would love to tell us that you did peculiarly different from others, or maybe something particularly that you did?
Yeah, sure. See, I was an engineering manager, which means I had to manage multiple projects and multiple customers. Okay. See, 80% of your projects will go as per schedule. There is no issue. So you are not paid for that 80%. This is something that I used to tell myself. 20% of the projects don't go well. There will be a lot of issues. You are actually paid for that. Like I used to tell myself, I am paid to be the project manager for these 20%. That means 80% of my salary is for this 20% projects. 20% of my salary is to ensure this 80% projects are going smoothly, right? So that is the first thing. The second thing is that whoever joins my team, I would just take them out for a walk, very informal talk. I'd ask them, what is your hobby? Somebody says trekking, okay, good. Somebody says writing, okay, good. Like that, I would just have that in my mind or write it in my Excel sheet. This person trekking, like that. So when there is a crisis in the project, I would go to the trekker. Like if he is there in the team, I would go to the trekker. Say, in trekking, don't you face challenges? You face, right? So how do you handle it? Then he will tell something. So handle it this way only. Okay. Likewise, I would go to the writer. I said, is it that every day morning you get a thought to write? You don't get a thought to write. Some days you will get, some days you don't get, but sometimes you have to write. Then how do you bring in that creativity? So there is a way that you bring in that creativity. Bring it now, here. And coding, so they were all software programmers. So software programmers are the most creative people. So bring in that creativity here now. So that way, for these 20% projects, I would not conduct very formal stand-up meetings or anything. I would go to their desk and just put a shoulder or have a pat on their shoulder and say, you can do it. First of all, you can do it. That's why I have assigned you. Just do it, okay? So don't worry. If it fails, I am there, no, because Nokia or Motorola is paying me to handle the risks the customer will raise and the all his outbursts. I am paid to handle. You don't worry. You just work on the project. So I would not cascade that stress to them. So because of which, with lot of ease and grace, the team used to be productive.
And what was your rationale of not conducting the formal stand-ups?
See, when you conduct a formal stand-up, first of all, they will come with a stress. Because see, 20% of the 80% stand-ups you can conduct because they're going smooth. They'll say, we finished this.
Business as usual almost.
20% they're already stressed that they didn't meet their deliverable. There's something they're stuck. So they will spend their time or in their coffee chat how to justify to Susila why the project did not do or why the deadline is not met. So I don't want them to waste that time. They should have that freedom to come to me and say with me only, Susila, this is not working, so this is what it is. So that freedom, if I have to give them, I shouldn't be questioning them in a group. Because all of them are very intelligent. They will come up with intelligent answers, justifications of why it's not working. So, and they will formally, scheme it up in the cafeteria and come to me. All that I don't want, because it's a waste of productivity for them also, for me also.
Absolutely.
So that's why I would not conduct formal, stand-up meetings.
And also brings like some form of distance with you.
Yeah,
and the team,
exactly.
Right?
Then they will treat me as authority, not like, but I used to tell them, see, I am your peer, okay? If you make it work only, I will get paid. Otherwise, I will be fired as a project manager. So my job is in your hands, not the other way. Which is actually true if you look at it. But the way we cover it up is by showing authority.
And now switching back to your your life at home and on your personal front, when you were away to ISB or you shared in our preparatory chat that how you went to US also for a year when your son was 9 months old.
Oh yes.
Right? Was there any fear, any guilt or as a mother? Because I hear, I'm not a mother yet, but I hear that a lot of working moms have a lot of guilt. But did you have any of it, and how did you deal with it at all?
See, I'm not a superwoman. Okay, all mothers, the moment the child comes onto the planet, will go through fear. How will my son turn out, or how will my child turn out? And they will go through fear of whether I will be able to raise him or her properly. So that fear is all pervasive. It's not unique to me. Okay? Guilt also is that am I doing enough? So guilt and fear are there for anybody, working mothers, non-working mothers and all. Working mothers, we hype it up a little bit because we are not physically with them. We are not physically with them. So I do go through spaces of guilt and fear, and then I have coping mechanisms for it. Like how I cope up is I ask my children, like, when did you miss me? So they say the instances and they weep that, you know, we wish you were there at that time, you were not available for me, like that. So at least it comes out of their system, and then we look at the possible ways we can address it together. It is not a rosy picture, by the way, it is not easy. But if you want to handle multiple aspects in your life, then certain things you have to keep doing ongoingly to make it work.
And like, what are those?
Like asking children,
Being
what
in
is their
communication,
being in communication, what is their expectation, then talking to my husband, seeing how he can support. Like, you know, if he is there any way that he can handle this aspect when I am not there. Then talking to my mother, because my mother-in-law is not there now, so she's expired recently. So I asked my mother, so can she, you know, call my children more often, speak to them certain aspects, so to see, you know, who can speak to them such that they are comfortable. And my friends, good friends, like that.
So you make sure that their certain emotional needs and needs are taken care of.
Taken care. But does that mean it has completely made my guilt and fear zero? No, it has not. It will never be also. This is something that I want to tell all mothers, whether working or not, guilt and fear will always be there. So don't try to, you know, make it zero. Try to address it to a minimal, workable level. Your mother is there, right? No,
Yes.
does she not go through guilt and fear?
She does. I think,
So every mother goes through.
and she's been a full-time mom to us for the longest time, and I can say for sure that
She goes through
it.
Maybe she feels, oh, today I could have made this extra dish.
Yeah.
I made only 3 dishes, I could have made 1 extra dish more, so that guilt will be there.
Yeah, or whatever, or could have contributed. I mean, actually, who knows, right? Like, you know, she could have thought that she could have contributed in X many ways also, which she didn't, or something like that.
Yes. So most mothers, especially working mothers, I have seen, they try to quit their job after their first child. After this saying that, you know, now I don't know, my personal view is not required. It's not required. You can manage still without, but of course, certain things you need to be clear that you should not use your head in certain places. And you should do certain things, you shouldn't do certain things. It's like you should have a mentor or a coach who can help you in those aspects, such that you are productive and effective at work.
Yesterday, very interestingly, so I'm a part of a female founders group on WhatsApp, and for some reason, you know, a founder who's also a mother had shared that, and she had shared a photo of her baby, you know, on a what is it called?
I know what you're talking
about.
about.
The strap, right? Yeah. So basically, I had shared that, you know, I mean, if people ask me that am I going to any toddler programs, I said no, but my baby is going to investor summits and developer summits. And then there was so many images of people, you know, sharing pictures of their kids coming to work. And I think, like, you know, whether it's creating that workability by communicating at workplace.
That actually, sorry for interrupting, that gives me one more point. When my son was a young child, we didn't have this work from home system. And I had to work till 3 in the morning because I had to overlap with the US folks.
Okay.
So I convinced Motorola that my son will sleep in a sleeping bag, okay, and along with my maid. Okay, so I had a full-time maid. She's a young girl, 18, 19 years old. So both of them used to come to the office. I would go at around 8 o'clock at night to the house. After dinner, get them along with me. They would sleep on the sleeping bags, and then till 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock I would wake them up. 3 to 4 I would wake them up, go back home. And then 11 o'clock is my son's school, fortunately. So he would have sufficient sleep till maybe 9:30, 10. And same with me. Then drop him at the school.
Wow. So
yeah, but during my daughter's time, work from this laptop system has come. So
right. Yeah. So I mean, whether it is creating a, you know, a supportive environment by asking and by communicating at home or at workplace. I mean, the idea is to basically
be in communication.
Yes.
Ask for help. don't hesitate to ask for help.
Yes, that is going to be my takeaway from this for sure. That I think a lot of times we try to do it all. Right?
Exactly. You can't do it all. First thing you have to get it is you can't do it all. So you have to ask for help.
So you said that you cannot do it all, yet you are doing so many things, right? Right from writing and acting also now. So, like, how do you choose what is, where do you draw the line, or what do you pick on doing extra?
See, when I say you cannot do it all, see, you pick up one aspect, like for example, raising my daughter. It's my aspect only, but I cannot do it all. So I need somebody who can help me in certain aspects. That's being like a superwoman. Okay, and that will not last because you will get burnt out. When I said you cannot do it all, in that aspect, not everything you can do it. So you should have support structures which will take care of that.
So picking and choosing.
So that's what I mean by you cannot do it all for each aspect.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you one final question. I think we talked about your relationship with your team, we talked about your relationship with your mother-in-law. How do you manage your relationship with your husband? And that's a personal question also coming from me because I recently got married.
Okay. So first thing is that we do have certain common interests.
Okay.
Like academics is our common interest, career is our common interest. So most of the times our conversations are in this only. It is not that we don't fight. We fight every day. Okay.
Every day?
Every day we fight. Okay. So because there is both of us are highly ambitious and highly aggressive also. Like, so there will be conflicts. The thing is that I think, as I told you before, we don't hold on to that, okay, this fight has happened. So after 1 hour, if she calls, I will not pick up the phone. Nothing like that. That fight is over, it's done, and then we move on. The second thing which is very important, which I want to tell all this young generation is, we schedule our fights. We schedule our fights. So we have this, for example, we both have a conflict a topic like I want to purchase this, you want to purchase this. So there is a conflict, right? So there could be a fight. So we say, okay, we will postpone it to evening. So there is nothing on this planet that has to be done immediately. So it will be postponed to evening. Certain things we postpone it to weekend. Weekends. So those fights are postponed. So there are certain fights for weekends, there are certain fights for evenings. So small fights are evenings handled, big fights are handled over the weekend. Right? So then what happens is, during the day, our conversations are normal. First of all, we don't converse much because he's working, I'm working. But even if we have to talk, that point is set aside. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So we don't get into immediate emotional outburst. So the foundation is set that I respect you, you respect me, and he calls it love, I call it respect. It's the same, okay? We have trust for on each other. That foundation is set. We are 27 years married. So the way you schedule discussions, you schedule your conflicts also. Okay. Once a week, we sit and have a cup of coffee, just like that. That is the only time that we spend with each other. He doesn't like to come to theatres. I go to theatre on my own. So I don't impose, okay, if you love me, you should go, you should come to the theatre to watch the movie. No, nothing like that. So life is, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's difficult, but there are simple ways to handle it.
And make it work.
Make it work.
You said something very interesting, and I was going to actually not going to ask you, but this just came up. You seem to prioritize fun a lot. Is that right?
Yeah. So in everything, I should have fun.
Or also that you're comfortable taking half day for a movie. A lot of time people will want to be sincere, show up at office, not take that solo trip, for example. And how long have you been taking the solo trip?
Solo trips, I think 10 years maybe. Yeah.
10 years? Was it always like this, or was it
I have prioritized what is important for me.
And so giving yourself...
That self-help is very much needed.
What was the shift, if I can ask?
Of prioritizing yourself over others or other things. Like for example, right now also my daughter is sleeping at home and she didn't eat her lunch. But for me, this is important. Not that I am compromising on her. I spoke to her. She said, "I don't need. Don't worry." So she's 18 years old. She will manage. So I don't have any iota of guilt or fear for her.
And prioritizing self.
Self.
That is important.
Yes.
For sure. Thank you. This was insightful. Any takeaways for I think women your age or my age or anywhere between us, who don't prioritize themselves? Like how can they? I think it's just something common I've heard that they will either put their career on a break or their fun on a break. I think very recently some post on Instagram was doing the rounds that we have known successful women, ambitious women, but we don't know relaxed women. So I don't know. I think this post was really going around, and a lot of people seem to have resonated with it. So, is there any takeaway for any woman between our ages to actually even begin prioritizing themselves?
See, first thing is that you have to keep saying to yourself that you can do both. That means personal as well as career. I can do it, first thing. Second thing is every day you should give at least 10 to 15 minutes of me time.
Me time.
Me time. Where nobody is there, no mobile, nothing. Just a 10 minutes. I'm not talking about meditation, no spirituality. Just pick up a cup of coffee, sit, watch some tree, whatever is there in front of you, watch a painting. Just give yourself the 10 minutes time. I think these two things will really make a huge difference. Okay. Added to that, if you can, it's good if you can practice some meditation, go for a walk, and take a mentor's help, so on and so forth. But I can do it is something which is very, very critical, right?
I can do it is very critical. Can you expand on
like
that?
I cannot do both my work as well as my personal, so let me compromise on my personal stuff.
Got it.
So it's like you can do both. You can do whatever. So.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our episode today. Thank you so much. I think it was personally very insightful. I was thinking that when I was preparing for today's podcast, what all to ask you. First of all, I didn't ask you all those questions. I asked you some other questions only. But one thing was that when I look at you, I always think of someone who's very, very effective in all areas of her life as such. And I'm so glad that you were candidly sharing about all aspects of your life. I would love to acknowledge that I had a very insightful chat with you. I personally found all areas of your life which matter to you really working. And anything that you would like for our audience to take away from our conversation today? Anything that got left out or anything that you would like to share as a takeaway per se?
See, ours is a short life. Okay, maximum is maybe 100 years. That's what they say, right? In 100 years, do whatever you want to do. Don't compromise on that.
Live your best life.
Life that you want.
Right, got it.
It may not be best.
Okay.
It may not, like for example, if somebody looks at me, earlier I was with Nokia earning so much of money. Now I have my own startup. I'm not earning as much. So it's not best.
Right.
But I'm doing what I want.
Right.
So because see, I am very clear, I'll turn 50 this year. Another 30 years is my life. 30 years may whatever I want to do, let me do it.
We hope you liked today's episode. Please let us know in the comments what parts of it resonated the most to you. And do let us know in the comments if you would like us to do or cover any more topics that you'd love to learn about. Stay tuned for our future episodes.